Oh, how the tables turn! Thank you, Mr. Meadow Man. Much obliged to you. And as for you, you stupid rube, not the first time I've been persecuted for my scientific curiosity. Have a really bad day, sir. Toodles. You, sir, are a scholar and a gentleman. You should be commended.
I'm sorry, okay? Don't murder me. It's just, the guy was fucking my chickens.
Come along with us on an idle ride through the latest science fiction and fantasy shows, movies, and video games. Welcome to Idle Ride. I'm Marcy, your host, here with my co-host and chosen brother, Paul.
Hi, I'm Marcy. No, wait, I'm Paul.
And we're here to talk about Amazon Prime's Fallout television show, Episode 2, The Target. It's really hard. I don't think I actually have a favorite episode of this television show because so many of them are good. But I would say this is the most dog meat focused episode, so it is kind of like my favorite episode.
That is fair.
It goes right into this adorable... Now, I never thought I'd say a fetus is adorable, but I mean, adorable little internal tummy version of a doggy fetus. And once again, dogs are even cuter than humans, and whatever form they're in,
Every
be it
form.
fetus or adult or puppy, it doesn't matter. They're way cuter than us. And immediately you see them pull up this little puppy and put it on a weighing scale. The baby puppies that are not greater than 10 ounces are getting incinerated. And we see Ben Linus from Lost, a.k.a. his real name, I guess we should say that, which is Michael Emerson.
I'm going to keep saying Ben.
Yeah. I've labeled him Linus in my notes, but I at first was like, oh, this guy, no way. And then the moment he fudges his numbers in his notes, he's like, this dog's just a little bit under 10 ounces.
We can get that up.
We can get that up a bit.
10.0.
And then, so you immediately love this guy because he saves this adorable puppy from incineration. The next scene is basically he's tagging this dog or burning a brand into the dog. And it is CX404.
404 not found.
Yep, that's what somebody said online is possibly it's Canine Experiment 404, which, he would have been incinerated, so it's found now by Linus. I will now be calling the dog meat or my puppy from now on.
Or Ooja Booja little baby, something like that.
One of the things I did notice in this, too, is they use some 1950s transitions, where it's the circle that blows out and all these different old-timey transitions between scenes, which I think is a really good way to just make it feel old.
It really felt old-timey, and the music helped too.
Yeah, and they don't talk in this episode. There's no verbal talking for, I would say, the first 10 minutes. So you sort of feel like you're the perspective of the dog.
The dog's perspective, the camera shots sometimes were from knee height.
Yeah. It was really cool that they transitioned a lot to dog meat's perspective. So you get to see the dog grow up. There's a scene too where he's supposed to be getting something injected into his neck. There's all these puppies having it happen to them. And Linus walks up and is holding his puppy. And he's like, I'm not going to make you go through that. And he rubs his face in the puppy's fur, and 100% this guy knows what a dog owner looks like. I won't make you do that. And you get a montage of dog meat sort of doing his exercises, getting trained on a treadmill. And there's this really cool screen that is showing Dog Meat as like a cartoon kind of, in that green screen that's the Pip-Boy green.
Mm-hmm.
And just a reminder, everybody, when we were in the 2000s or late 90s, that's actually the color and the look of the screens that we used to use when we were young and had our very first computers. It was that green color, and you would type in different like command lines and stuff to get programs to run. So there's a reason they chose that green color.
The color of hacking.
Hacking color. The Matrix color.
Yeah.
Paul is going to do his Legends of Lore on sort of the history, maybe a little bit, and talking about the canine system and military dogs, because that's what Dog Meat is. He's kind of the companion to Linus and later the other characters in the show.
That's right. And Marcy's going to help me out a bit with this, because there's quite a bit you can talk about with this kind of thing. Humans and dogs, we have a pretty long history together. We did domesticate them. They have been with us for many, many thousands of years. There are examples dating back to at least 500 BC of people using dogs in combat. In the Battle of Pelusium, the Persian king at the time, Cambyses II, I don't know if I pronounced it right, used dogs as psychological warfare against the Egyptians by having them on the front line so that the Egyptians wouldn't use ranged attacks to hurt what is to them a sacred animal, which kind of would be like if you're at war with India and you put cows on your front line. Like it's a dirty tactic. You're not really a good person if you do that. But yeah, there's examples like the Battle of Marathon. There was a hoplite who had a dog following him into battle, and dogs have been scouts. They've been medics. You know, the idea, which is false, of the St. Bernard with the booze that rescues you. It's not too far from like medic dogs who would bring you stuff you need. They're messenger dogs. Like in World War I, I think it was, there was a York dog, one of those little
Yorkie dogs.
Yorkie ugly ones. Apparently those dogs were on the out, and then this one was so popular because it ran through this little tube hundreds of feet underground to bring a message from one guy to another.
So awesome.
Yeah, and dogs have been used. You strap bombs on them and you blow up tanks. That's not super effective. It is also awful. I would never do that to a dog, and I don't really understand the kind of person who would. Before rats were used for mine sweeping, they tried dogs because dogs also have a really good sense of smell, and the training methods are so awful. They would electrify the ground so that the dog would know ground not safe, and then they would point them, get them to identify the like dud explosives so that they could start to smell out the stuff. These dogs could only like work for a half an hour at a time before like just freaking the fuck out. And they're like, okay, dogs are not good for this. This is too stressful. So yes, thankfully we don't use dogs for minesweeping anymore.
Yeah, well, I learned about the rat thing. So in terms of like other animals that have done certain things, I know I think it was Vietnam, there's still like old bombs and stuff that would potentially go off. So they started using these giant like jungle rats to identify them. And the rats are small enough that they can actually and smart. Rats are incredibly smart. They could train them to find them, and they wouldn't set the bomb off because they're so tiny.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. And then, I mean, this is just from my memory. I just remember this, but dolphins, they also trained to identify underwater mines and find them once the wars were over.
Which I think we both learned from watching Sequest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead.
Dogs have also got, I might call it a problematic issue with being too loyal and such good boys and girls, because they've been used by slavers to track humans, bloodhounds in the south of the U.S. specifically. They are used to smell and hunt down and do violence to people. And nowadays, I don't know how to pronounce these, Marcy. Can you help? The Belgian Malinois?
Malinois?
Yeah. Is like the most common military canine breed. Yes, it used to be German Shepherds. There have been, different specialties for different kinds of dogs. One of them, I think, Marcy, now is a good time to talk about the most famous dog of World War
One.
One.
Yes, Sergeant Stubby. So I prefer not to think about the terrible things that you could do with dogs because certainly, yes, they'll be loyal to whoever feeds them and loves them the most. And horrible people can love dogs even though they hate humans. But Sergeant Stubby served in World War One, and he was the unofficial mascot of the 102nd Infantry Regiment, which was also assigned to the 26th Yankee Division. So if I sound like I don't know how to say military stuff, that's because I don't. So Paul might have to step in and help because he's from a military family.
I might choose not to, though, because it's funnier.
So Sergeant Stubby looked a little bit like a Boston Bull Terrier, but he was a mix and he was a stray. And the 102nd Infantry were just training, I think it was at Yale. And little Stubby was just chilling out with the infantry. And Corporal Conroy took a liking to him. So when they were finally deployed, he loved Stubby so much that he hid him literally under his coat. He was so small and was able to bring him with him to the front lines. But eventually the commanding officer did find out about Stubby. And apparently the story is that obviously, Stubby was smart, so they had been training him to do stupid military stuff. And one of them was to salute. So when the commander found him, the dog saluted to him. And so the commander was like, I guess you get to keep this cool dog. So Stubby was on the front lines with his regiment. And he was on the front lines for about a year. And he was good morale. He actually started to alert them to things like mustard gas coming in. He would alert them because he could hear beforehand the whine of the artillery shells before the humans could. So he would alert them ahead of time so that they could take cover. But he did end up getting injured and going and convalescing for a period of time. And he obviously kept up everybody's morale in the hospital. And then he was sent back to the front line. And he got one of his injuries was he got sick from the mustard gas. So they made a little teeny gas mask for Sergeant Stubby. So he's got his little mini gas mask. And then why he became Sergeant Stubby is that apparently he single-handedly captured a German spy, and so they decided to give him the rank of sergeant after he had captured this German spy.
That's pretty impressive.
And then he did get injured twice, and finally they retired Sergeant Stubby when Corporal Conroy was also left the war, and he lived a pretty long life and got 2 Purple Hearts because he was wounded twice in the war. Everybody fucking loved him. He got parades. He's at the Smithsonian. They stuffed him. He is super popular.
National hero.
National hero. And they made a animated movie about him in 2018.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know about the movie.
Thank you for your service, Sergeant Stubby. And I guess Paul definitely went through the more military stuff because, dog meat's kind of a violent dog. But one of the things that I think is cool about dogs is that because they've been with us so long, that there are some genetic aspects of canines that makes them different than any other animal. And they've done experiments where they have an ape, like a chimpanzee, try to figure out a problem, and a dog trying to figure out a problem, and a human just stands in the room. Doesn't do anything, but just stands there. And the ape will try to figure it out, but never once will they look to the human. And a dog who doesn't even know the stranger human in the room will try to figure it out, and then they'll be like, no, I don't need to be doing this. Hey, you. And they'll look up to see what the human is doing or if the human's looking at something. So they're the only animal that will look at a human and look at the eyes of a human to see what they're looking at. So I feel like it's crazy that we've bred into these animals not only to not fear us, but to how to look for signs and signals from humans that, where's the danger? What are we looking at? What are we doing?
I know they've shown that wolves do not care about human eye contact. So yes, it is definitely a trait that has been brought into the dogs.
Yeah, and it's specifically related to humans. I mean, I wonder if they did it with other animals, if they make eye contact with other animals more as well than like a normal animal that's not domesticated. But anyway, it's such a cool thing. And another thing I've learned too is that, of course, mostly men probably made them into war beasts, but women were the ones that domesticated them to the point like they'd always find skeletons of animals in the house with women. And like, we're the ones that brought them into the home and made them pets and loved them. Lots of women were buried with their dogs. So it's very cool to think about. Like we always say, a man is his dog or a boy is his dog. And it's like, actually, dogs love women more than men.
Yeah.
Because we take care of them.
Yeah. There's also the aspect to point out that dogs have personalities, and that means that they're not always going to do what you think. And so you can't exactly trust that a dog that's saying the thing that you think means I smell drugs or I smell bombs is actually that. They could be cranky. They could be like wanting a break. There's a million reasons why a dog could be doing the thing that you think is, I have this computer trained to always sniff for this. They have personalities, they have desires, and they can get sick of their job.
Yeah. And as the handler, I think if you have a good relationship with your dog, you'll recognize the signs of, oh, like this dog's ready to be done with working, you know? But yeah, the relationships between humans and dogs is one that I like and appreciate. And I always enjoy a show that has a good dog in it.
Lessons in chemistry. The dog is supposed to be super genius and learns lots of human words, and was a failed police dog that ran away because it hated the sound of explosions, which I relate to a lot.
Yes. That's cool. That's a book, right?
That's a
Lessons in
book. It's
Chemistry.
also a TV show now.
Ah, yeah, I haven't read it. My sister-in-law left it for me, so maybe I'll read it if there's a dog in it.
It's a good book. Smart dog.
All right, so Ben Linus,
Yes.
aka Wilzig. What a dumb name. He's training up dog meat and has created like a little kennel area for him in his experiment room, and we see him starting to get kind of unhappy with the situation that he's in. Oh, there is a very cute moment where to encourage dog meat to run on the treadmill, he gets out the teddy bear, which anybody who's played Fallout knows that in Fallout 4, if you put a teddy bear in dog meat's inventory, he'll like throw it up in the air and play with it and do all kinds of cute things with it. So that was adorable. But Ben Linus is kind of tired of being in what I assume is the Enclave, or whatever remnant of the Enclave is around. And you guys won't be introduced to the Enclave at all in the TV show, but that's the remnants of the old United States from the video game. And he puts a needle in his neck and injects himself with some weird piece of technology that we don't know about.
It's blue and it glows. That's all we know.
Classic tech. It's always got to be that bright blue color.
Yeah.
If it's a good technology.
Good tech. Yeah. This is like Iron Man's arc reactor color.
Exactly. Then some rando dude comes in, and again, we're seeing now this scene, even though there is talking, you can't understand what he's saying because it's from Dogmeat's perspective. And then the guy attacks Linus and throws him to the ground. And then Dogmeat is like, fuck no, you're not gonna take down my master, and rips the guy to shreds. And that's when you're like, yeah, Dogmeat, you got this.
Well trained.
Yes, well trained and loyal. So Linus is like, shit, I need to leave now. So he grabs his dogs, grabs his
Yeah, the fire alarm
shit.
got pulled when he got pushed down. So
Oh, that's right. They set off an alarm, the other guy, before pushing him down.
yeah.
And they're running away, and it's so dumb. I know that I shouldn't be nostalgic for this, but as they're running up, you see these turrets rise out of the ground, gun turrets. And I was like, oh, those are the gun turrets I put all over my settlements in Fallout 4. Even though they're like, like shooting at the main character, I'm just only nostalgic for the fact that I'm seeing the exact turrets from the video game.
That's fun. So you were not, I take it, bothered at all that this sentry fired like 1,000,000 shots at him and he walked sort of quickly away and was not hit at all?
Hey, man, that happens to me in Fallout all the time, so not surprised.
Okay.
There's like only one scene in Fallout that I was like, that's not like the video game. And it's actually in this episode, so you'll get to hear about it, but certainly not that. I mean, every television show, people have thousands of bullets in their one little like pistol, so it was stupid. They should have been hit, but whatever. He's got a stim pack. He can take it. Maybe he got hit 18 times, so we just didn't notice it.
I guess maybe.
Anything else you want to say about this sequence?
One small bit. Early on, when Dogmeat's just a little puppy in his arms, he's walking past a guard and he stops for a second and there's something on a stretcher and it's got a black claw hand. Any idea what that is? Because it made a moment to like for you to notice that. It made a little sound effect. And I was like, doesn't look like a death claw. I don't know what's going on here.
I think that might have been like the first clue about the ghouls.
Okay.
It kind of looked like a ghoul hand to me. But yeah, I don't know specifically who that was supposed to be or what that was supposed to be.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. You're right. They do make a very specific point of him seeing the body of a person underneath a sheet with like a weird desiccated black hand.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a mystery. The next scene is Lucy. And once again, still don't have any talking. We're like 10 minutes into the episode. No talking.
Kind of great.
It is great. I mean, because this makes you feel like you're in a video game. Because in a video game, you're physically not talking. And there's lots of time in the game where it's just music like it is at the beginning of this episode.
Yep.
So they definitely make you feel like you're in a video game at the beginning of this episode. So the wasteland looks amazing.
Chef's kiss, yes.
I mean, remember in the episode that we talked about Fallout 1 and 2, we discussed how bright the blue suit looks in the wasteland.
Yep.
And I feel like that's illustrated perfectly here in Lucy's journey across the wasteland, where she's still clean and bright. Like the suit's still clean. So it's very obvious that she's out of place here. And again, another scene that's classic Fallout video game where she walks into a house and sees a scene of a family dead around a table, sees that they had taken some kind of drug to kill themselves.
Wonder if it's banana flavored.
Maybe the cyanide pills. But Cam talked about this very thing in our episode about Fallout 3 and 4, where one of the fun things about the game was that you just come on these scenes that didn't have a storyline that you had to follow. It's just you see this, you see the story and how the environment is set up, and they did it immediately here. It's really awesome.
Yep, you could totally just pause this scene and like look for clues and make up your own story of what happened.
Exactly. You also get a picture of maybe Vault-Tec's not as cool as you thought it was. I mean, obviously, we know that as players, but the fact that they have this drink or this bottle of stuff that is obviously what they drank to die, kind of already giving you clues about Vault-Tec maybe not being as cool as you thought.
It's kind of like Futurama having those suicide booths everywhere.
Yes, that's right. I knew there were suicide booths in some kind of fandom. It's Futurama.
Yup.
Again, sound effects are all on point. I mean, here I'm thinking about the Pip-Boy sound effects, but even later on with the power armor, perfect. Because it could look chintzy, because it's sort of obviously a little bit foam suit, but I feel like the sound effects make it all come together.
Yeah,
right?
you give it that depth of sound, and then you just think it's well powered and not light.
Yes, exactly. So Lucy is just kind of exploring the waste. Gets to be nighttime. She starts a fire.
Out in the open.
Out in the open. Obviously, she hasn't watched The Last of Us or grown up in Alaska. And she suddenly wakes up to, I think, some chittering sounds.
And growling.
And we see that dog meat across the fire from her growling at something and attacks a insect of some kind. And we know it's a cockroach, giant cockroach. And Linus is creepily sitting across the fire from
Fucking
her.
creep.
Super creepy. But this is a classic first level fight sequence. Like, one of the first things that you always kill in video games is either rats or cockroaches. So you can tell she's a first level player. Like, she's just getting into the game here, guys. And she's meeting her first NPC. And I have that clip for us to listen to.
Before the war, people joked about cockroaches surviving a nuclear blast. But they didn't merely survive. They improved. Enlarged thorax to ward off attack. Extended antennae in order to hunt in packs. Incisors to help ingest larger prey. Such as yourself. You should know better than to light a fire after dark.
Yeah.
You really should.
Sir, I'm looking for my father. He was kidnapped by this woman named Moldaver. Have you seen her?
I love this scene because it's literally straight out of a video game. Some weirdo sitting at your fire tells this creepy ass story, and as the role player, you're just like, I don't care, I gotta find my dad. She doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he is like just weird. She's like, this is my mission. Let's do this mission.
Yeah.
Like, tell
no
me where my
side
dad
quests.
is. Like, it's just so funny to me because why would some rando in the desert like know about your dad?
Right?
I love it.
It's like, oh, you're from Bermuda. Maybe you know Bill.
Right, exactly. So that was an amazing beginning to me to a video game television show of her attempting very ineffectually to try to get information.
So I have two things I'd like to say about this. First,
Sure.
the file name that you saved it as, no one could see this, but it's Linus Cockroach. It's like...
That's right.
Yep. And the second thing is, if you see this guy and you're in a story, like, okay, this is Benjamin Linus from Lost. That's absolutely a terrible person to meet in the early seasons. He's also like one of the main characters in Person of Interest, which is a really dumb show about an AI that's trying to protect people from being killed by like giving just their social security number. I watched that with Johnny and we were very obsessed with it, but like it's objectively a dumb show. And he's also in the show called Evil, which stars the guy from Luke Cage and
I like some of the I've seen some of those.
You've seen some of
Pretty
Evil?
good.
I think it has every stupid trope about science and psychology that you could have, and it's fucking infuriating. But he's like, as far as I know from the 2 episodes I saw, a representative of the side of evil. So if you run into this guy in a story, you have like a 50-50 shot of things going terribly for you. Like, run away.
100%. So that's why it was so hard for me to accept him as the main interest. I was going to say love interest of Dog Meat, but the main owner of Dog Meat. It's just like, how could it be that it's Ben Linus? But he shows enough love and care, at least in the beginning of the episode, for Dog Meat that
Like, you get it.
I get it, but he's still kind of off his rocker a little bit, even in Fallout.
Yeah, he talks to her more and he sees that she's got the number 33 on her. And he's like, oh, Vault 33. That's this vault that has like cornfields of Iowa or whatever.
Oh, no, he does that way
He does that later?
Oh, yeah.
Because it says he knows about Vault Dwellers, Rule of Law, Knows what? Okay, so he just hints at it here.
Yeah. Later is when he actually like describes it, and you're like, oh, you know way more than you should. But in this scene, he kind of just says that, because she's a vault dweller, the morals aren't going to match you, so you should go home.
Right.
And then,
who are you going to be?
Who you going to be? Yeah. And then he randomly disappears into the night.
As you do.
And that's fucking creepy, too.
Yeah, like, stay there. You're at a fire. Like,
why wouldn't you join her and be her companion? And then, so the biggest sadness for me in this is that Lucy doesn't become friends with the dog, but whatever.
Right. Barely interacts. Doesn't interact with him at all, really.
Yeah. Again, it switches scenes to Max, and he's in a vertibird. Again, gorgeous. Loving it. You get to see it flying through the desert. It looks amazing. And then they do a really great job of immediately showing you that Titus is an asshole. With just one thing that he makes Max do. He pulls off the metal codpiece of his power armor and throws it at Max and is like, clean it. And then I remembered that scene, but I had forgotten that Max then like reattaches the codpiece to his power armor. Like, so he's down there like attaching this dick thing to this guy's armor.
Wow.
Anyway, it was definitely like immediately you knew what kind of person this knight is in that one interaction.
Yeah.
And then the knight decides to not go all the way to Philly, but to get off earlier than expected. And so there's a pretty cool scene of him attaching his squire to his giant power armor, and then they both jump off the vertibird and land in the desert with this gigantic, huge backpack that good old Max the squire has to carry behind the knight.
Don't forget the comical banging your head on his armor with it. Max does.
That was really cute. I like the way that they're kind of showing that this is very metal. Oh, he hurt his head hitting when he landed. Yeah, that was good. I like that scene. But that was pretty quick. Then that's all we get of Max for a minute, and it switches to Linus again. He's still with Dogmeat. He decides to take a break out in front of this cave, and he's eating cram, which is one of the foods you can get.
I have a note for cram, yep.
You do? Go ahead and go over it.
Oh, no, just like noticing it. I didn't have specifics.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a lover of the video game, so many of these things are little Easter eggs for you. Like, he's sitting, opens up what is spam, looks like spam, but it's called cram in the Fallout universe. And you see Dogmeat kind of alert to the cave, runs into the cave, and comes out with a severed hand in his mouth. And Linus was like, oh my gosh, and notices all kinds of like skeletons and stuff.
He like walks there. He's telling her to be careful, and then he sits around a bunch of skeletons and starts to eat away at some spam.
I know. Well, he is just a doctor. Like, it's not like he spent a lot of time in the waste either.
It's true.
And he trusts that the dog's going to protect him, which I guess it has once at least.
Yeah.
And they do another quick transition back to Max. Max and Titus, the knight, end up showing up at the cave.
That exact same spot in the middle of the wilderness.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I guess Max is much better tracker than I would have given him credit for, because he's immediately like, there was a man and a dog here.
It must be our prey.
How would you know the dog was with him? I guess maybe paw prints?
Maybe, yeah.
So this is like a really amazing scene, this whole sequence, but they hear a growl in the cave, and they go into a cave, and again, if you're a video game fan, the hazard cones. Since Fallout 1, we've got these like hazard cones and hazard barriers that were in every single video game. So it's so dumb. Again, it's just like the turret. I'm like, hazard cones. Oh, it's just definitely Fallout. This is so Fallout.
It's like it's real or something.
And this is where, again, Titus is a complete shitbag. He's in this giant, amazing power armor, and he makes Max go in to check out what's in the cave, deeper in the cave.
You earned the suit through acts of bravery. This is an act of bravery.
This is an act of me trying to get you killed, more like it. And then, hello, what monster do we see next?
Before we get to the monster, I just wanted to point out, so Max had this shitty old school looking flashlight, and we get it. Like, in the Fallout world, there's no LEDs, or at least if there is, only Enclave Tech really has that. So yeah, he has a shitty flashlight. But I thought his whole group was about preserving and protecting technology. And as soon as that flashlight turns off, he throws it to the side.
The underlings, I'm sure, don't get any good tech, right?
I guess that's true, yeah. So yeah, he steps forward, looks around, does the classic horror movie trope of then turning around to see Titus, and there's is it a death claw? No. It's a giant cave bear.
Yeah, so the Yaogwai are, for me, the most terrifying. The death claws are obviously, they're huge, they're big, they're scary. But because I'm from Alaska or something, like every time in game I see a Yaogwai bear, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. They're scary. They're badass. They're hard to kill, and they're faster than the death claws. And so the moment I see that bear, it's just like, yes. So Titus gets attacked by the bear. He immediately gets his ass whooped.
His gun gets destroyed early on.
Yeah, not a good fighter, this guy. And it was pretty funny, like, hearing the knight be like, oh my god, and like running away like a little baby. Yeah. And so Max is like kind of freaking out, but doesn't know what to do because, I mean, he's not in power armor.
Yeah, he's got a little pistol.
And the knight's like getting hit by the bear and gets knocked over. And I do like the scene where the bear's kind of like playing with his helmet. Like he sounds like a tin can, kind of.
Yeah, that bear's having a fun time.
And then the knight's like, do something to Max. And this is where the only time in the series that I get pulled out of it, because he pulls out a 10mm gun, shoots the Yaogwai Tice in the head, and the bear dies. And I was like,
what the fuck?
Thank you. Like, first of all, real bears don't die from getting shot by like 20 shots in the head by a shotgun. Like, a little 10mm isn't going to kill an irradiated bear that's probably got, like, weird healing powers.
Right. Through the thick of the skull, like, that's some heavy armor right there on that head.
So that was, like, the only time that I was like, no way. Like, took me out of the scene for a moment just because of my history with the game plus my Alaska history. But apparently, this gun is the Colt 6520 10mm, and it was the original 10mm gun from Fallout 1 and 2 that you get. So it's kind of cool that they're doing callbacks to all of the different video games.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Thank you, Reddit, whoever put that on Reddit. And then Titus becomes the whiniest of whiny bitches that you'll ever meet. He takes off his helmet, and what a dumbass. He's like, give me a stim pack, give me a stim pack, give me a stim pack.
Also, it's your fault that you should die and you're going to get hung out upside down and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. So let's listen to some of that clip here. How much of a real dumbass he is.
They gotta be the worst fucking squire there is. This is all your fault. You dumb motherfucker, you. Give me a step back. Give me a step back.
It is a knight's duty to better this fallen world. You don't deserve that armor.
You think you do? You fuck. They'll kill you for this.
Nuh-uh.
Not if I bring back the target.
So he's coughing, first of all, throughout. Like, I didn't realize how much he coughs until like I
Just listening to the
recorded
audio.
that clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like, he says stim pack like 80,000 times. Give me your stim pack. I need a stim pack. What? Yeah. Again, what an idiot. You need this dude to save your life because you can't get up. And you start talking shit to him? Like,
Yeah. And you call him the worst squire? He's never been trained as this kind of squire. Like, this is his first mission.
right, exactly.
Also, when he took off his helmet, I was like, oh, it's that guy. I've seen him in things before. Turns out, like, he's a not very beloved person in real life, a bit of a Trumpist, and so his presence in this scene ruined some people's love for this show, apparently, which I can get that. But it is kind of cool to watch him die like a stupid asshole.
Well, I had the same note that it sounds like he's got some controversy surrounding him. He's like, I mean, comedians, that's sort of their job, is to make controversy or be somewhat offensive. But I feel like if you don't like him, he's kind of a baby bitch in this and gets killed immediately.
A baby bitch, yep.
So I guess I would just say enjoy the fact that you get to see him die and be whiny like you know he is in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the end of that sequence.
My one regret to that sequence is that they didn't show how you get the body out of the armor. I want to see him just get, like, booted out of it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that I guess because he took his helmet off and then couldn't put it back on, and the helmet is what controls the suit. Because I was like, why couldn't he get up and just do his own stim pack? But yeah. Idiot.
I also love that Max went from like a bumbling coward and like a humble servant who's getting his head beat to like this, like he's got like cleric vibes at the end of like, you don't deserve that armor. It's our duty to be this way. Like he had a lot of emotional range.
Yeah, and actually that was something that I was meaning to talk about, is sort of this moral decision that he makes here impacts the rest of his journey throughout the show. Obviously, once he got some form of power, he immediately used it to do something kind of terrible. I mean, yeah, the guy's a jerk and he tried to kill you kinda, but like just immediately deciding like, I'm not only gonna, he didn't actively kill him, he decided to just sit there and watch him die, which is even like more fucked up in my opinion. Like, it's not like he took out a gun and shot him.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, the stim pack? Whoops.
Yep. The next sequence is a Lucy sequence. And God, I love Lucy's stuff. It's so fucking hilarious. So she comes upon this homesteader in the middle of the desert wearing a diaper, basically diaper pants. And she's doing the smart thing. She's being proactive with not allowing him to take advantage of her by having a gun held on him. Again, she immediately was like asking, have you seen anybody who was like had a prisoner? And I don't remember how it comes up, but she offers him a sip. Oh, because he's trying to get his water filter to work, but just putting sand in it like an idiot.
I keep adding sand and I keep not getting water.
And she's like, why don't you put water in it? And he's like, you got water? And she's like, yeah, here, take a sip. And so he grabs the water bottle, which is a classic water bottle from the game. It says purified water on it. And
it's the good stuff.
It's the good stuff, the not irradiated stuff. And just whoever this actor was, I didn't look it up, but you did amazing. He's drinking the water, drinking it. And as she's watching it, like he gets to the end and then he like does this gross thing with his tongue where he's like, like gets like the last of it out of there. So gross. And so I got a little clip from this because it was one of my favorite sequences of the whole season of Fallout.
You head to Philly?
What's Philly?
Town. It's over that hill. Never been myself.
You've never been over that hill?
It's too dangerous. People get killed in Philly all the time. That's where my daddy got killed anyway. A couple brothers, too. Had a aunt as well. She got killed there once.
Once.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you.
I think my favorite joke out of the whole thing is when you said, I got a favorite aunt that got killed there once. So you're like, she got killed there more than once? Like,
He's just the kindest, dumbest person that she could have happened upon in this random encounter.
100%. It's so fucking funny. And then I guess it makes sense that you do die in Fallout the video game and come back from stim packs. So I guess his aunt could have gone there a couple of times and died a couple of times. But she's walking away. She's doing the classic like Midwestern nice thing where he's like calling out to her as she's leaving like, hey, maybe you could stay here with me and you know, I'm sick. I'm really sick.
You won't have to put up with me for long. Yeah.
And she's like, oh, thank you, but no thanks. I gotta go. Like, I love how well she ignored him.
You're a good person for not shooting me. No problem.
Like, her ability to just sort of disassociate from these situations is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And also relatable. Like the way that he's annoying her as she's walking away. I have felt that so many times with strangers.
Yeah, it's so good. So Lucy is heading to Philly, which is the big town in this area. And it switches again to Max, who is getting into the power armor and just really digging it. In these scenes, you can kind of see that the armor has those bear claw marks in it. And so now this is going to be kind of like an iconic Fallout armor.
Right, it's marked.
Yeah, so in Fallout Shelter, the video game, you can actually get Max, and he's in that bear claw armor. So that's cool. And it's got special features to it. It's just like fun watching him enjoy being in a power armor for the first time, and you can kind of imagine yourself from the video game doing that.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Like, oh, let's practice running. Let's see what jumping's like. The music was so
throw
joyful.
Something.
Yeah, throw stuff, kick a rock into, just demolish a building.
Yeah, so funny. And like a perfect sort of lighthearted moment that leads into another lighthearted but gross moment where he sees some dude beating up another dude.
It's like, I'll kill you.
Yeah, I'll kill you. Grabs the guy that's on top and stops him. And then you see the guy that gets away has like a fedora on. He kind of seems like a sleazeball, like immediately.
Like the fedora. The two things that stuck out, and these are things that if you hear anyone say them in the real world, you absolutely know that they are a chicken fucker. He said, persecuted for a scientific curiosity. And he also said, you're a scholar and a gentleman.
A scholar and a gentleman. That's it.
I also had a math teacher. Every class, he would say, good morning, scholars. So.
Yeah, I love how he like makes it like it's a scientific fucking experiment.
Oh, I see what you did there.
But so he lets the guy go. He just like sprints away, and the other guy's like freaking out because obviously he's being held by power armor, and he's like, "Don't kill me, man! I didn't mean to do it, but that guy was fucking my chickens." It's such a good joke. I'm sorry, people, but that made me laugh my ass off.
You know it's coming, and you still think it's awesome.
Yeah, and then Max just goes, okay.
On your way, citizen.
Yeah. Like, I love his response is just like, all right, I'm just going to move on.
Yeah, I thought I did the right thing.
It's so good.
He also unlocks his jump jets when he puts his hand up.
Oh, that's right. And I don't ever remember being able to fly in power armor.
Me neither, but...
So that must be a TV edition, or maybe I just never got far enough to upgrade my power armor to be able to fly. So the next sequence is actually going to be all in Philly, the town.
Which we find is spelled Filly.
Which I was like, okay. Because we know they're near, was it Chicago, I think? So I guess I imagined it being Philly like Philadelphia, but that's pretty far away from Chicago. So yeah. This sequence involves all of our main characters. So Lucy is heading into Philly, and I already kind of like that. She's just like, hi, and everybody's ignoring her. But there's tons of great stuff in the sequence where she's walking in. Again, no talking, just music and the ambiance of the city,
some
which
great
feels
costumes.
a lot. Yeah. Great costumes. Feels like Megaton.
It felt like Megaton, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The look of it, because it kind of is circular when she's looking down on it.
Oh, I really liked one of the first people that she sort of ran across was going the opposite direction, and he had like a bird cage for a backpack with a little bird in it. I thought that was really cool and cute. I loved her interaction with the guy who's selling dog meat and lizard meat, because she thought it was like an interpersonal sort of thing where like he's offering her something and she's like, I'm fine. But, oh, by the way, do you know where my dad is? And shows a picture, and the guy just like, you do not understand the situation, and like looks away.
So this made me think of Fallout 1. There's a whole side quest about the iguana bits. And so I was like, human meat, that's iguana bits. Because the iguana bits turned out to be like human that they were selling as iguana. And so you could like choose to kill them or just keep it quiet and make a lot of caps. So I wonder if that's what that guy was supposed to be, but...
Oh, I hope
I'd like to think it is a callback to Fallout 1. Yeah, so there was great stuff in here. I mean, everywhere you looked, you saw something that would make your Fallout nostalgia jizz come out. So, like Nuka-Cola signs. You get to see a two-headed Brahmin walk by. You get to see the Vault Boy bobblehead when she walks into the junk room. You get to see the junk gun again. I mean,
there's just so much attention to
raiders.
Detail.
Yeah, like it's just everywhere.
There's a sign, I think it's in a later part, but there's signs everywhere. But one of them is like, "In God we trust." Everyone else has to use caps. Like,
it's so good. Even the signs that label everything look very much like the video game. Yeah. Like very just kind of handwritten with like random paint that they found somewhere. You know, so good.
And it must be kind of cool from a Vault Dweller's perspective to just come across a society. Like, it's weird. Everyone there's doing their own thing. You probably feel some kind of hostility or at least coldness. But, like, you were with your same dozen or 24 people for your whole life. And, like, there's a whole world out there.
You can see it in Lucy's face. Like, when she's walking through the town, her utter joy at seeing all these new things and experiencing all these new things.
Yep.
So she does see there's like a store that has a bunch of Vault Tech equipment. So she decides to go into this store.
And do a charisma check.
and fail. And she meets the best side character.
Oh my God.
Every one of these NPCs, aka just like side characters in the show, I think are really, really good. She meets Ma June, and so I do have a clip.
Love Ma June, yes.
She's so good, yeah. I'm going to say that thousands of times, audience, so sorry. So good.
So good.
Holy shit. You're an actual Vault Dweller.
I am.
I thought all you sardine fucking dipshits were dead. Barb, get in here. You gotta see this.
Ma'am, the raider I'm looking for is about 5'9".
Barb!
A woman in her 50s, I think.
Barb!
Goes by the name of
Barb,
Moldaver.
get in here. Get back to your fucking room, Barb.
I love their relationship, Barb and her.
I take it you know who she is?
Everyone knows who Moldaver is. Get out of here, Vault Dweller.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, so the two ladies kind of remind me of like, it's Patty and Nancy, is it, from Peanuts?
Oh, funny.
Yeah, just like they're kind of like an old couple and they bicker, and yeah, I just kind of felt that vibe from them.
Oh, I was like, this is 100% like an old lesbian couple that's like done with the world. They love each other, but it's just like, I love how she yells, Barb! Barb! And I thought it was Barb when I was watching it, B-A-R-B, but it's actually B-A-R-V.
Oh, wow.
With a V as in Victoria.
Where did you find that? Was that in the credits or?
It's in the credits and like when you're watching it with subtitles,
Okay,
it's Barb.
okay.
Yeah.
That's why you watch with subtitles, guys.
The actress that plays this character, Ma June, the laugh with that like hoarse laughter, the voice acting that she does in this is just so good. I mean, she would make a perfect voice actor for the video game, you know?
Definitely.
And just that personality, no nonsense personality is so awesome. So June kicks her out.
Gives her some kind of nice advice, like really hostile, but like, you know, you're not gonna do well here. You have all 10 fingers. You're clean. Like, everyone here hates you. Go away.
Go home. You are going to die. So as Lucy is leaving the store, she meets up with our good old friend Linus, who sees her come out. And they have another really creepy interaction. I don't think this guy can have a conversation without like sounding like he's giving a prophecy or something.
Imagine being just like a grocery store clerk and that guy walks up and he's like, I just wanted bananas. And you're like, oh my God, what is happening?
So this is the scene where she's like, you don't know me or something. And he's like, I know you. And then he talks about Vault 33. Yeah. So he's kind of describes to her exactly how her vault is set up. And she's like, how do you know that?
Oh, I want to cut in here just because it has happened at least twice now, according to my notes. It shows pictures of our ghoul friend. And every single time it does this really, I want to say, annoying yodel sound.
Like he's got a sign, like a wanted sign poster up or something?
No, he's like sitting in a chair and he's kind of looking at the store and rocking back and forth. He's like playing with something in his gloved hand. And he'd just be like,
yodeling.
Yeah.
That's what the subtitle said.
And so, yeah, like at this point, yeah, it's happened at least twice now. And I'm like, I understand what's happening. Please stop doing that sound.
I think that's kind of an Old West sound where they would have a lot of like these kinds of vocals when the main character came out, right? So they're giving us clues that he's from the Old West and he might not be a good guy. And this is kind of where he enters the picture anyway. So we learn that who we've been calling Linus, he finally gets a name, Wilzig. Again, still not going to use Wilzig's name as Wilzig. It's Linus from now on, people. And
get with the program.
The ghoul lines out that this guy has a bounty on his head.
Through all 6 agencies.
All the people in the town are afraid of the ghoul. Obviously, they all go into their homes the moment he rises up from the chair. The ghoul just kind of like takes things into his own hands. Does Maju confront him first?
She says you're not welcome here, and he's like, well, I'm gonna have to make myself welcome.
Yeah. And then he shoots Linus's leg off, and this is like perfect bloody mess perk right here, where his leg gets blown off. I'm like, this is so gross. And Ma June decides to tell everybody in town that she'll pay them 1,000 caps if they take out the ghoul. So there's a huge gunfight that starts.
Like that's a lot of money, right, Marcy? Like 1,000 caps. Like what could you buy with 1,000 caps?
What could you buy with 1,000 caps? 1 fusion core, which powers Actually, probably more than one. 1.5, maybe fusion cores that power your power armor.
Wow. That's a big deal.
That's a really big deal because they're kind of a finite resource at first. And maybe you could buy some combat armor, which is way better than like regular leather armor. But only a few pieces, not the whole outfit.
Okay. So it's not an absurd amount of money, but it is enough to make you want to maybe kill a ghoul.
I mean, you could buy a lot of food with it, that's for sure. A lot of cram.
A lot of cram.
So the gunfight's pretty cool. He ends up getting a shot off at Ma June and hits her in the leg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he takes a few more people out. I wrote quality ammo. At one point, one of the bullets goes through a dude and then explodes the other guy behind him. At this point, like, says something about working up an appetite, and he walks up to one of the merch booths and grabs some cherry tomatoes, very delicious looking, starts popping them. He starts getting hit in the back by someone, and he walks to behind a cart, and there's someone who's like bleeding out from a neck wound, and he's like, I'd offer you one of these tomatoes, but you got a hole in your neck.
And this is about where I'm like, oh yeah, Walton Goggins is pretty sexy as the ghoul, I gotta admit. Yeah, I think like after that's where he hits Ma June in the leg, and then he starts coming at them, and then this is when the puppy gets stabbed.
Yeah, he's approaching Linus, and so Dogmeat attacks him, and you hear some yelps, and you know there's a knife in his hand.
Dogmeat takes him down, but then the ghoul stabs my puppy.
And at this point, you're right. Lucy was in the shop and she was looking at Ma June's information to try and figure out how to find Moldiver.
That's right. And after the ghoul stabs my baby puppy, I don't think he's attractive anymore.
Because you could toggle attraction like that so easily.
Yes, 100% I can.
Yeah, you're not nice to a dog? Get the fuck out of this world.
Yeah.
I also think it's kind of funny at this point when he paid for the cherry tomatoes, and then when Lucy was looking, she looked up at the wall and there were a bunch of guns, and you think, oh, maybe she's going to ammo up, and then she comes out without any of those guns. I felt like that was definitely a callback to Karma and stealing things.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because normally in a show like this, she'd obviously pick up the biggest gun there and then like take that out. Instead, she just keeps her syringe gun.
Yes.
And walks out and once again fails her charisma check.
Appeals to his fairness and his honor, and Ma June is like, fucking vault dwellers.
You can see her, she's like bleeding out and she's still like sarcastic and can't believe that she has to deal with this fucking vault dweller trying to talk sense to the ghoul.
Like, that's a joke in Fallout World. Like, a vault dweller had ghoul walk into a bar.
Yeah, right? She tries to appeal to him, but knows he's probably not going to do what she says. She's talking the whole time. The ghoul doesn't say a word. She says, and then everybody here at the town would understand why I have to take defensive measures. Like, I just love that she has to, like, explain to them, don't give me bad karma ratings. And she ends up shooting him with one of her syringe bolts. And that's one of the lines that you saw a lot, like, in the trailers and stuff, where he's like, that's a really small amount of drugs in a big bucket of drugs or something.
I still don't quite understand what that means. Is he swimming in drugs? Is he a druggie?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what that means. He's an addict. He's got a lot of drugs in his system. So one little syringe isn't going to do anything to him. And then out of the sky comes Knight Max in his power armor.
And I think he claims, like, I am Knight Titus. So, like,
he does.
Yeah.
He's taking on the persona of his master, which is funny because I feel like he could have just said he died from the wounds of the Yao Guai and taken the power.
So weird choice there, Max, but okay.
And Max arrives just in time to save Lucy because the ghoul is going to shoot her in the face. And he's runs in his power armor, deflects the bullet, and they crash into the shop. And this is like such a funny moment. But it's so true that this would be still like a role-playing moment in the video game where he opens his mask.
Yeah.
And then the game actually stops in that moment and you have like
it's
a bunch of...
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cutscene. And you can choose what dialogue to use with Max. Flirt with Max, punch Max in the face, take his power armor.
Yeah.
She chooses the flirt option.
Yeah, she's like, oh, my hero, a comic book night.
Like, I don't know how I feel about this moment. I mean, it is cute, but you're like, already? You're like setting it up. But I guess I could see them both. They're very idealistic. Mm-hmm. The reason they're on these missions is different, but kind of the same, that they're trying to prove themselves. And, well, he's trying to prove himself, and she's on a valiant mission, so she could see that being saved by somebody would immediately endear them to you. But anyway,
and
this
like,
is kind of funny
because of the chicken fucker failure. Like, we know he's itching to be heroic, and so he gets his moment of looking amazing and someone actually recognizing that in him, and that, like, he's like, yes, I'm doing the thing. And so he tells her to get to the doctor. Sorry, let me say it properly. Get to the doctor!
Get to the doctor! Don't slow down. You've got to get to the doctor. Get out of here.
It's not a tumor.
It's just a leg wound. So, Lucy and Ma-June drag Linus out of the line of fire into the shop while Max and the ghoul begin their big fight. Again, Ma-June is calling for Barf!
Barf!
Barf! Give me my limbs! So apparently she has like a bunch of old, not that great Vault Tech equipment. One of them is Jim's limbs.
I love that so much.
It's so good. And it's like such a disgusting moment, but this is what happens in the Fallout games. Like, you do these weird, gross things. So she pulls out all this equipment from Jim's limbs, box of limbs, and it's like, literally looks like a grinding machine, like a meat grinder.
Like a meat grinder, exactly.
And to wind it up, she actually turns what looks like an old school can opener turning thing, or like one of those old school wind-up toys. Do you remember the handle that you would use? So she goes crank, crank, and then it starts grinding, and then it just basically grinds off his leg and attaches to his leg. It's such a gross moment, but like funny somehow at the same time.
Like the blood just really pours out the bottom into a bucket that she had ready.
Yes, it's so gross. And they're just so casual about it. And then there's like, what's so great is it's not even a really good prosthetic. Like,
it's so clunky.
It's so clunky. Like, she takes out, once she's got like the base of it on, that's the meat grinder part, then she gets out this like, basically just a paddle foot.
Yes.
and twists it on. And that's it. That's the leg.
That's your IKEA leg right there, man.
Yeah, basically. And Lucy's just standing there. Again, you can see her start to disassociate. Like, I'm a good person and I don't know what's happening, so I'm just gonna like pretend that
I just want to find my dad.
Yeah. Ma-June is trying to figure out what to do, and Linus is like, well, just let the Vault Dweller take me, basically.
He's saying that screaming in pain, too. She'll take me.
She'll take me. We know it's an important mission now, because he's obviously, whatever needs to happen, he needs to get there. And then they have to convince Lucy, and Ma-June basically says, well, he's going to see Moldaver, so this is a way to get in with Moldaver. And so Lucy decides to take Linus to Moldaver's hideout.
So lucky. I love also Lucy's response to that is, gosh damn it, okay.
Basically, religious persons would say that, except she's not religious. So it's like funny to have that 1950s, don't want to say bad words against God, but she doesn't really believe in God because that's like not part of that vault.
Yeah. Just for the context, outside there's a major fight scene going on between the ghoul and the guy in power armor. And I happened to watch the Planet of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes Kingdom Planet movie that just came out. And the scene was almost like shot for shot of like the more agile one is up on the higher tier and the bigger one who's got kind of like, you know, massive proportions is just trying to knock down the ladder and pull him down. So I thought that was kind of funny that the scenes were so similar. But yeah, epic fight going on. Nobody else is around. It is literally just, power armor versus agile ghoul running around.
And it's pretty obvious that the ghoul is going to win the fight.
Way more skilled, totally not stressed at all, like relaxed, taking it on. Just like, I'll find my opening.
So during the fight, as Lucy is taking Linus out of the store, you actually see them, Max and her. He lifts his thing again, and he makes like direct eye contact. They're making such lovey-dovey eyes at each other.
They're so Romeo and Juliet.
It's like, come on. But it is cute. Like this like budding little romance already, like in the middle of the wastelands.
It fits the quirkiness of Fallout to be that just ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. And so she leaves with the doctor. Ma June had given her coordinates on her Pip-Boy, and that's how she's going to get there. So I also have a scene from the fight, which is the best ghoul moment, I feel like. So I'm going to play that really quick.
Well, I guess basic training ain't what it used to be.
Nope.
You drive that thing like a fucking shopping cart.
Woo!
Rule number 1, read the manual.
Max doesn't win the fight.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes that now that the girl isn't watching, he loses all of his combat buffs. So clearly he has some weird version of the lady killer perk.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, he probably does lose a little confidence because now he's not trying to show off. The ghoul, everything that he says is such like good sarcasm, and he is so casual about everything. Like, you know, he's been around a long time, that this stuff doesn't faze him. Like, he knows he can't be killed, and he obviously knows power armor because we heard about it in the very first episode. He talks about fighting at Anchorage in power armor. So I love that he recognized how bad this guy was in the power armor.
Yep.
But it is interesting to think about if you have something that provides you with that much of more of a technological advantage. Doesn't matter how skilled you are, you can still hold your own in a fight with somebody who is very skilled. Because he couldn't get at him to kill him, so he just made it so that he was no longer in the same space as him.
Yeah. And so Maximus flies away, and there's a scene where he flies over Lucy's head as they're leaving through the market area, and she looks up like, wow, there goes my hero.
And he's like,
crashes in a latrine or area.
Yeah, it's funny. So after, or as Lucy's walking out of the city with Linus, the chicken fucker's back.
Yep.
And this is another really good funny scene where he's like, sees them and he's trying to sell like serums or something. He's like, serums for leg healing serums for sale, leg stuff, like really trying to get their attention, and they completely ignore him. It's so great. It's such a good moment and callback to that stupid, sleazy character.
Yeah.
And he'll come back, by the way, in another episode.
Good to know.
So look out for the chicken fucker.
Watch out, guys.
Literally. Watch your chickens.
Hide your chickens, hide
No, Paul. So the ghoul is now free to look for Linus and realizes that they got away and notices that dog meat is on the ground, injured, but still alive.
Yes. Also, Majun and Barv are very smart to get the hell out of there because he would not be above torturing them to figure stuff out.
That's a great thing to notice in that scene is that they're completely gone as well. And it's classic video game scene. He decides to save the dog because he knows the dog is the doctor's and will likely follow its master. So he's not saving dog meat because he's nice, which,
No.
he is, but he's not.
Yeah.
And uses stim pack on dog meat, and this is like a classic scene from Fallout 4. We all have done it. Dog meat's whining,
Aww.
can't get up, and you have to stab him with a stim pack to get him back into fighting form.
I stabbed you because I love you.
And they walk off together. I'm not sure why dog meat is staying close to the ghoul, but,
Yeah.
whatever.
We're not going to question that
saved
too
him.
much. Exactly. Maybe it was a big misunderstanding as far as dog meat could tell.
Well, maybe dog meat can smell the goodness in him.
Maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah. It's like, no hard feelings. I bit you. You stabbed me. We're all even.
Exactly. So the final scene is Lucy and Linus walking across this desert. Linus is obviously getting tired. He's got his Jim's limbs on, but doesn't really articulate, so it's basically just a stiff leg.
I would not want to go 20 miles on that thing.
No way. And it is funny that Lucy keeps holding his arm. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not actually helping him move. They stop at this area in the desert where there's a broken down building. I think it's a radio tower, kind of.
So I wasn't certain. It kind of looked like a crashed communist Russian spacecraft. It had CCCP on it in a ball shape, but...
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't really tell what it was. I thought I saw a symbol of a microphone and stuff on the side at one point, but it's anybody's guess.
It could be the Mir space station. We don't know. And he goes, this spot will have to do.
Yeah, I can't go any farther.
She gives him a nice little pep talk about, I'll be with you the whole time. Let's go. And he's like, no, I literally ate cyanide. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, and I do have that final little talk that he gives her.
I took the pill so that it would be less taxing for you to go through with it. It'll be easier if you carry my head instead of dragging my whole body.
What a weirdo.
You're asking me to...
Please. I'm begging you, and this is the only way to get your dad back. I knew I could trust you. You are a vault dweller. But if you're going to survive for me, you need to start acting like a surface dweller.
So I feel like that's a fitting end to this episode where you kind of see he's telling her literally to chop his head off. He hands her a chainsaw sword.
Yeah, what is this, Warhammer suddenly? Were chainsaw swords in the game before?
They were,
okay.
Yeah. And she's got to make this decision, am I going to desecrate this body and carry a head through the wasteland? And he literally says it in that sentence. You're a vault dweller. I can trust you, but now you have to become a surface dweller.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to make that moral decision and chooses to chop his head off.
Okie dokie.
She says that final little okie dokie, which I've come to realize I think is her bolstering herself up to do something that she needs to be brave for.
Yeah, I feel
and
that.
so that's when she says okie dokie. And so she becomes that surface dweller and chops his head off. And that's the end of the episode.
So I know that the blue thing that he embedded like behind his ear is probably the thing that they're talking about. But you'd think that he would warn her that so that she doesn't like accidentally chop there when she like cuts his head off. Like if that's the most important thing, you'd think he'd be like, make sure to cut down here or something, you know, like.
Yeah, I think it was like right behind his ear. So it would be pretty hard to like. But you're right. Like, he only had a limited amount of time. He just taken the cyanide.
Surprise cyanide that tastes like banana and that is the most humane thing that Vault Tech ever made.
And maybe he still doesn't want her to know about it because she's smart enough to maybe try to experiment with what's behind his ear.
Could be that.
But
I also think, so his last words were to say her last name, Miss McLean, which like reveals that he knows even more about her. But I love the idea that he still has like a few minutes of life left and he's like, fuck, play dead.
And as she's chopping his head off, he starts screaming.
Yes.
Oh my God!
No, don't stop. Keep going.
Yeah, he plays such a creepy guy.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I'm upset about is he doesn't even shed a tear for his dog meat.
He doesn't even go like, oh, I wish I could have seen dog meat one last time.
I know.
God damn it.
So I still don't like you, Linus.
Yeah.
But overall, just like a really good episode. Usually I have a hard time with television shows that jump around a lot, which these episodes have been doing, like going from storyline to storyline to storyline. But it's so engaging and there's enough fun material that so far I'm not bored with one of the storylines. I don't know how you feel about the jumping timeline stuff.
I guess I don't mind that so much. It's pretty early on in the show, and I figure things will start to converge pretty soon. But I definitely would be more bothered by the silly coincidences, like I said, with the gun, not the turret not hitting him even though he's walking away, and like suddenly being in the cave where Linus was. Like there's a lot of little moments like that. But I did watch all of the current episodes of Never Stop Blowing Up, which is like a 90s action movie Jumanji D&D thing that Dimension 20 has. And it just is so leans into the stupid action movie tropes that I am fully here for it.
Yeah, I think nowadays you just, if you want to enjoy television, you have to just give up on some of that stuff, you know? And I think that's like kind of the problem sometimes with the fandoms nowadays is that they're so intense about everything. That's why I call this Idle Ride.
Yeah, we're not nitpicking here.
Like, I guess I did it with The Last Airbender, but that was such a shit show in general that it was hard not to. But I feel like just try to enjoy it. Like, there were some things to enjoy about Avatar The Last Airbender even.
Yep.
And trying to find those moments when you're watching stuff and not to be just like, everything is shit because it's not exactly how I expected it to be, right?
Yeah, like, guy, you're gonna die someday. And I say guy because you're usually asshole dudes. You're gonna die someday. Enjoy life.
Yeah. I am very excited for you to see more of these episodes, Pat.
Me too.
Seems like you're enjoying them. And so our next episode is going to be episode 3, The Head.
I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, right. Whose head are we discussing? I don't know.
Roadhead?
Ghouls.
Ooh, spicy.
Blowjabs. Yeah, so if you want to follow us on social medias, just go to Idle Ride Podcast or Idle Ride, and we're on almost all social media. And if you liked our show, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, well, thanks, and we'll see you here again next time.
Bye.